You're listening to the episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place we're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Hey, everybody. If I sound a little ragged, the allergies are working me over today, as they are probably many of y'all. It's just that fun time of the season. You have allergies, Taylor?
Oh, yeah.
Ain't it great?
It's the best.
You know, it's like,
world.
okay, I could either suffer through the allergies or suffer through the allergy medicine, whichever is worse, you know, sometimes.
True.
Today I have Debbie Beeman on at Promises Community. Many of y'all know this outfit on Renfro, and it's been around quite some time, actually. My background with it is back in 97. I won't say that, 1997 when we started. I was on the committee that helped start it. Actually, I was just there nodding my head a lot, as opposed to... It was started by a gentleman named Kevin Stager. Does that ring a bell with you, Miss Beeman?
That name does not.
Oh, well, David Couch is who kind of took his spot when Kevin moved on to other things. But it's been growing and growing, and the need's growing, but also the capacity to serve is growing. And so Ms. Beeman is going to tell us all about what they do, and if you know somebody or if you yourself need their services, because it's more than just a food pantry as well. And now you handle the food pantry part, though, right?
I do focus on the food pantry portion. We do have licensed professional counseling, but while I'm aware of it, know a good bit about the general, for HIPAA reasons, we don't share a whole lot of...
Well, sure.
I'm not involved in a whole lot of the counseling part of it.
Well, but you know how it works and
Absolutely.
how it operates and what they do. And I have used that counseling service back in the day when things were struggling a bit, maybe a decade ago. And so I really like what we do. We're both members of First Baptist. Well, I'm a member. You work. Are you a member?
Yes.
Okay. I know you live in Saginaw, so you have to drive a long way for Sunday school.
I do.
Okay, but I know we're both members, and we're both very, very happy and pleased that we can do this for the community. You know, proud is a hard word because pride goeth before a fall.
Right.
But we are very pleased that we can offer this to the community, and I'm glad for you to be here and tell us all about it.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, and what you're telling me is the need is growing. We'll be talking about that quite a bit. Taylor, I'm trying to work through the links, but I don't see it yet. Is it?
All right, I'll send you one.
All right, it's I don't know, this Facebook. I don't think Zuckerberg likes me because I'm too critical of him or his friends Joe and Nancy and Chuck. Anyway, there's the video link. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the sponsors who make this happen. First of all, we have Daniel Basden, who's also a fellow member of First Baptist at CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Get yourself a good workout over there. It's a great opportunity to now in the wintertime because you can't do as much outdoors, so you work out indoors. It's a very shall we say a rigorous workout, but they have trainers, they have supervision, they have the whole 9 yards, and so it's not like you just go there and start flinging the iron around. You're going to get an appropriate workout. So thank you, Daniel, for what you do for our church and for our community. Also, I want to segue real briefly. He is also on the board of Eagle's Nest. Have you ever heard of Eagle's Nest?
Yes.
Okay, and he's on the board of that. And, a couple of our fellow members, Terry and Tiffany McConnell, down there, and they're trying to raise money for some specific equipment, I believe. So if you feel led to give into that, that's certainly a good thing to do. On the Eagle's Nest, just hit the donate button on the eaglesnest.int.org. Also, sponsoring children is always a great Christmas gift to yourself, and not just to them, but you'll be gratified that you did. Also, thank you to Shandy Stocksdale. I'm going to have her on, let's see, what is today? A week from Monday. Yes, the 19th. Shandy is real estate, and if you want to buy real estate in this area, you want to move from Saginaw to Burleson, talk to Shandy. You see that happening?
I'm not opposed to it.
Okay, well, that's good enough. Well,
I love my home and I love where I'm at, but this is not a good time to be a buyer necessarily. Better.
It's getting better, but the thing about it is you need somebody like Shandy to navigate all that, because if you were just kind of jumping in by yourself, you probably wouldn't know what to do. I know I wouldn't. I'm sorry if I'm sniffing it a little bit. I've got my patriotic napkin here to wipe. Anyway, talk to Shandy. Also, Our Place Restaurant. I go there a lot. You have a chance to go there very much?
Yes.
Okay.
Not a lot. Not a lot, but I do go there some.
I do my business there. I mean, it's almost like a second office, if you will. I was just there yesterday. Some of the men in our Sunday school class get together and every other Thursday and try to solve the world's problems. and we don't get very far. But anyway, Our Place Restaurant, it's on the corner of the highway, and Allsbury Auto is a very generous community patron, and we very much appreciate what he does for us. Thank you, Otto. Same thing with Chris Notaboom. I'm gathering you're probably not a cigar smoker.
I'm not a cigar smoker.
Well, you probably know somebody that is, and so this is a good place to get stocking stuffers, gift cards. Wild Cigar and Culture is over on Hidden Creek at the Standard. It's a great place for a smoke. If you want a decent drink, if you want a decent time to visit, do your business, you go in there like about mid-afternoon. It's quiet. You could think it's not like a sports bar where it's just grinding you with all these TVs and noise. So you can have some business. They have a conference room if you want to, have an official meeting there of some sort. It's a very nice place. It's a class joint, as I say. Cigar and Culture. Thank you, Chris. Also, thank you to Tiffany Nico. I keep calling her Tiffany Griffin, but it's Tiffany Nico, a Local Life magazine that came out last week. Has 30,000 homes got it. Over 110,000 people see it. It grows exponentially. Also, it's got locallifetx.com if you want to see what's going on currently, and it's basically the go-to place if you want to advertise and know what's going on in this community, other than, of course, Mr. Allard's neighborhood. Sorry. I'm going to be doing that a lot today, I'm afraid. Also, thank you to Southern Gym. You ever been up here? One of our fellow members owns it, Gayla Moore's. Mm-hmm. All right, and it's on the top floor of the Windmiller building, and they're moving down to the bottom floor as quickly as they can, but that's never done quickly. Anything like that is always going to have holdups. But anyway, Southern Gym got a lot going on at Christmas. My wife works there now, and they're working extra hours. They're open till 6 for the next 2.5 weeks. Open a little later on Saturday too. So go and buy. They have gift cards. They have layaways. They have installment plans. They have a lot of good inventory, and also cleaning, repairs. They do a lot of repair business, particularly with watches. They do a lot of repair for fancy watches, not your old Mickey Mouse watch, but the high dollar ones, big shots wear. So Southern Gym on the top floor of Windmiller Building. Thank you also to Michelle Humphrey over at HotWorks. This is an infrared workout system. There's 11 different type of programs where you have infrared. I don't know how they use infrared to try to maximize the workout. I don't know if you've ever done this. I haven't done it, but a lot of people have. Taylor's does it all the time, and basically it's a workout program where with infrared, and there's like yoga, and there's Pilates, and there's rowing, and there's biking, and whatever else, and it's the infrared maximizes the workout without straining your body so much. So it's really. If you ever met Michelle, you'd be very impressed. She's a very good entrepreneur. So on HotWorks over in 731, right beside Chicken Salad Chick, and then theater and all that over there. And also Melissa Harmon over at Texas Farm Bureau, 682-804-0534. She is your Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent. She's mine as well. She'll check out your insurance to see if she could save you some money. And she did that for me. And it raised my insurance, my life insurance, which I was a little bit concerned because Robin was so adamant that I'd get my life insurance raised. I said, what do you have in mind, dear? But anyway, 682-804-0534. And we have some nonprofit stuff going on. It's Christmas, of course. So with Reinspire over at Bennett's in downtown Cleveland, or at Accents here in town by the railroad tracks, if you want to go by there, please do. And for $15, you can pick up an ornament. If you want to give more than $15 for it, that'd be even better. Reinspire is a program that helps foster kids that are aging out of the system into adjusting into, adulthood. A lot of things we take for granted that we were taught by our parents, these kids have to be, trained in. And they have a facility over in Cleburne that helps them with some of that. Also, like resume preparation and how to present yourself in an interview and things like that. It's really pretty good. Shreese Olson got a really good program over there. Also, we have Rachel's Hope. Megan asked me to do this one. This is affiliated with Next Step Women's Center, but the next week they're going to have a sale of sorts. It's their 20th anniversary. And so like on Monday, the first 20 customers get a voucher, $20 voucher. Tuesday, they're going to have a little bit of sweets and treats, as they say here. Wednesday, 20% off all transactions. Thursday, spin the wheel to win. Friday, grocery card giveaway. Now, I could use that myself, but particularly what groceries are. I really like the way some of these grocery stores are making it convenient where they have this bucket in the front. They say, throw your wallet in here. We'll just get rid of it. Just take care of it right there. But anyway, it's next week, all next week. So check it out. And of course, we all know Megan and Summer and the rest of that Next Step staff. They do such wonderful work for our community. Do we have any others? Ah, yes, I remember now. Center for ASD. They need Lysol. I mean, you don't think about these things. I bet y'all do. You know, but it's these, everybody thinks, okay, here's some money, and that's great. They'll take it. Boy, will they take it. But it's like sometimes they need goods. Lysol, need paper goods, paper plates, plasticware. Are you familiar with the Center for ASD? It's an autistic program.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's over at Crestmont, but it's not part of the church like Promises is. But Center for ASD takes autistic, mostly young people, but there's some older people there, and help them develop life skills like how to prepare meals and do laundry. It's things like that. And help them navigate through their life. So it's a great program. I've had them on. Lisa and Bianca have been here more than once, and it's a really good thing. Okay, well, before we jump into Promises, we'll talk about you. You said that you worked for AT&T for all those years?
I did. I worked for AT&T for 40 and a half years and retired from there and had moved. I started out, and it was Southwestern Bell.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, and I was in Pasadena, Texas. I was born and raised in Houston, so I was working there, and then moved to Austin, was there about 13 years, and then got moved to the Metroplex here, and that is how I actually became attached or a familiar person to First Baptist of Burleson. Is I met a dear friend, Tony Givens.
I know Tony, yes.
Yes, met her at AT&T. She actually, I got promoted, and she became my admin manager. And so we did some travel together for work, and we just became the best of friends. And so when I retired, I wanted to retire to something, not from something. And she knew about Promises.
Right.
Talked about it a lot, and it sounded really interesting. Plus, AT&T let me have one day a year I could volunteer. And I did that a couple of times at Promises. So I started volunteering at Promises in the warehouse.
Right.
Loved it, and went up to a couple of days instead of just one day. And not long after that, I was asked if I would be interested in being director, and I really felt that God was calling me to that. So
Right.
I was blessed to be able to come and take over as director when Cindy Hayden retired. And so that's what brought me here.
And how long you been the director?
This January 1st will be completing 3 years.
3 years.
I'll be
okay.
starting my 4th year.
Yes. And we've had that complex for about maybe a dozen years, but originally we were operating out of the back of the church practically, and then we acquired this smaller building, which today is at health clinic.
Yes.
The physician's healthcare clinic that for people who don't have insurance can get treatment there, and it was crowded even then. The need just blew up.
Yes.
And we knew very quickly that this was going to have to be a temporary solution because we didn't have room. And so when we bought that piece of property on Renfro and built that, it helped us help a lot more people. But even now, you probably could expand it, right?
We definitely could.
Yeah, right. It's the need is that much.
Yes. 2 months and 8 days after I took over as director, worldwide pandemic hit.
Yeah, right.
And that changed things a lot.
Did you still have to deal with COVID-related protocols?
We do not have to require. We will follow what USDA recommends on food pantries since we're tied to them through Tarrant Area Food Bank. But no, sir, we do not. Now, we still have people who will wear masks. They feel more comfortable wearing them, but it is no longer a requirement. At one point, they had required that we close and do a pass out, is what I call it, where we filled the bag and took it out to their car.
So they didn't come in and shop in
Correct.
effect. All right. So whom in particular do you serve? Obviously, it's not just church members. It's everybody in the community. But do you go past just the Burleson city limits?
We do. Our target was Johnson County, all of Johnson County. But the reality is when the pandemic hit, we had people from as far away as Rockwall who were not able to get to food pantries or was limited in what they were getting. And so they needed additional help and was coming as far away as Rockwall to come to us. And we do not refuse anybody. If you walk in and say you need food, you're going to leave with some.
Yeah.
But to actually qualify for continued food assistance, you do have to meet poverty guidelines, the national poverty guidelines. And that's really it. You had photo ID of some sort, show what your address is and that you truly live there, is really about it. There used to be greater restrictions on that. Signatures, that's not required anymore.
But so to have like be on like the program systematically in effect, like once a month, which I believe is probably the limit, right?
It's every 30 days.
You're right. That's almost typical in every one of these food pantries I've ever talked to, Harvest House included, that it's not like a weekly thing, but a monthly thing. That if you want to be on a monthly basis, then there is some procedure. But let's say I'm driving from Austin to somewhere and I need food. I got nothing. I'm not going to go away empty-handed regardless if I don't live in Johnson County.
We have that. Actually, probably have it maybe 8-10 times a year. I mean, it doesn't happen every month, but we have that where people are out on the road and have no real money and need some food, and we will pack them up food that's easy to snack on or whatever in the car to get them to where they're going. Right.
I mean, right off the highway as we are. I'm sure I've been told by other charitable organizations that because of our location, Burleson being right on the highway, we get a lot more business than probably somebody like in Cleburne or Joshua, something like that. And so we get a lot more passers through that come by. And I'm glad that we do that. I mean, would be the best witness in the world to say, sorry, you don't live here, beat it.
Right.
No, but I do understand, though, that there has to be some sort of documentation process because, unfortunately, there's a few people in the system that will game it.
Correct.
And I'm sure you've had to deal with that.
Yes.
And I've talked to other people, similar organizations, and they had the same thing. My mother used to work at one in Corsicana, and they had to deal with that too.
Yes.
People game in the system. And that's unfortunate.
Yes.
And it kind of makes us require us to have some sort of documentation process.
We do require some process, but again, if you come to us and say you're hungry, we're going to let you leave with some food that day, whether you go into the system or not.
Yeah.
And our while most of those would be every 30 days, just since I've been working or volunteering at Promises, the homeless population in Burleson has just blown up.
Yes.
And when I first started, we knew of 3. And the other day I pulled a report on it. We have 38. That's just what's known to us through Promises. But we allow them to come anytime they need food. We recommend once a week, but they're just not able to hold or keep, food much. So they're usually getting something that they can heat at the microwave at QT or something like that.
Yeah.
So we let them come more often so they're not having to pack canned goods, for a week. They get to come more often.
I know this sounds silly. I mean, it just occurred to me. You give them canned food. Do you give them a can opener? I mean,
actually we do.
That's what I thought. I mean, but I never thought about it that way before. I mean, I got a bag full of stuff that maybe I can't open unless I had the right equipment to do it. It never occurs to people that they need that. So how about that? I have the mayor on next Tuesday, and that's going to be one of our topics because you said this, and Jennifer Woods at Harvest House has said this, that the homeless population is getting to be a significant factor in our community, which I've lived here since 91, and I've taught here since 88, until I retired, of course. But, homeless back then was like a temporary condition, and it was, and usually there was some relative or family friend that could help them.
Right.
Now we're getting people outside of our community that are relying upon this community. And there are homeless. I hear more and more about this. And do you see Promises moving more and more into that kind of ministry, or is that just beyond our capacity right now?
We did a pretty deep dive into looking at doing something like that, mainly for women is what we had looked at.
Right.
And there are many things that you have to consider when you're trying to put something up. And after much discussion, much investigation, much visiting other locations, we really felt that God was telling us to kind of hold up. So while we see that the need is great, and we looked a lot at doing it, we just felt it was not a ministry that we were in a position to take over right now.
Right. I mean, you want to be all things to all people, but you want to take care of what you do best.
Yes.
Which is the food relief and the counseling and whatnot. And it's not quite as simple. I mean, a lot of people say, well, we just need a shelter. We need this. And it's like, okay, do you want that shelter right next to you?
Exactly.
You know, and so it's not that easy a question to answer. And you know, if you start bringing up all these factors, you might come across looking as a bit miserly or something like that. But the truth is, you know, it's one of those. A lot of those people say it's a great idea on the other side of town. You know,
exactly.
So
we do offer, though. We have some special backpacks that we stock with things for them. But the other thing that we did is not all homeless people are without a vehicle. Some of them have vehicles and live in the vehicle, and they actually have jobs. They just don't make enough to afford a normal housing. And getting into low-income housing, right now the wait is about 14 months.
Right.
And so you're going to be homeless for a while. But we have several ladies who have taken advantage of coming to Promises, and they would come on a weekly basis and bring what they've spent, what they're making, and we help them to set up a checking account monitoring, because they get amazed at what all, you know, they'll go spend several dollars for one drink when you could take that $2 and buy a case of water type thing. And we just try to help them to be more aware of where that money is going, so that once they do get a home, they're going to be better able to pay their portion and keep that home. So we do offer some of that type of service to the community if they want to.
Well, like I said, this is going to be a main topic of conversation with the mayor on Tuesday, because he's getting it. Last time we talked, he told me that he's getting, not on a daily basis, but more and more communications that, hey, have you noticed this is going on, and that kind of thing. But as far as the food pantry, you and I were talking about prior to the show, the need has grown.
Yes.
All right. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think the bigger need started at the beginning of the pandemic, when you couldn't find anything on the shelves. The shelves were empty, and so they were needing to come. I think in the beginning it also grew quickly, because it didn't take long into the pandemic that people were not working, was not receiving a paycheck, and now you had two families that, you know, brother, sister, or cousins that had two separate homes, but one of them loses a home, and now all of those people have moved together, and there were 5 in the household, now there's 12 in the household, and trying to monitor that and keep it made it grow. And so it grew really fast for a short time, and then it kind of died because government was sending out a lot of money. And for a while they were able to get some food. But then now we're beginning, matter of fact, Promises is just now seeing the supply chain is impacting our ability to get, buy in bulk, be able to have some of the things that we were able to keep on our shelves has become a little bit more difficult. We talk to neighborhood stores, places around, and they will let us sometimes place an order with them, but then the order doesn't come through, or only one item comes through. It's become difficult. But that is true of you going into the store, just like it is Promises trying to go in the store. So when you go to the store and you have trouble, what you need to do is come to Promises to help you. So that makes ours grow. I think that part of our growth, Brad, is that on May 2nd of this year, we were blessed with a brand new building, and we were able to go back to self-select.
Right.
And the community that needs that service, the dignity and respect that they feel that they get when they're able to go in and select their own groceries is great. And so our just for Promises has gone up 22% just since May 2nd.
Wow.
Because
it's a lot more than, you know, considering how much we were serving prior. 20% is a significant jump.
Yes. And they come not only because they need the assistance, but they love that they can come through our store and do some selection through our process.
Do you think also maybe because of COVID, because of the economy, because of all the things we've been going through the last 3 years or so, that maybe people are now less reluctant to go to the pantries, you know, because they're, you know, maybe there's a bit of pride factor, you know.
Absolutely.
You know.
And we have some of our clients that will tell us that. Boy, it was the hardest thing I had to do was to come in and ask for that. And we try to encourage them that's, you know, we've been blessed to be able to do the ministry and we want to serve them. But yes, I think there is a stigma, especially our older population
Right.
struggles greatly with coming in. But even younger ones hate to have to come. But again, I think the self-select process eases that for them and ours. And consequently, because of that, it used to take about 5 minutes to come pick up your bags of groceries that we would take out to the car.
Right.
Now you're coming in and it can take 15 to 20 minutes for you to go through and shop for the things that you want. So it takes a little bit longer, which means you might be waiting 5 or 10 minutes before we even have a shopper to go with you. So
So if somebody goes with you, didn't like,
Yes.
here's a bag, I'll see you in a few minutes.
No.
Do you have some sort of limit on how much they can take?
it's based off the size of the household. So yes, we always err on the side of generosity, but
Sure.
yes, we do have to put some limitation on what you're able to get each visit.
You're right. I mean, you can't exactly say, I'll see you in a few minutes, and
Yeah.
come back with the whole, 3 shopping carts worth, because you got to leave some for everybody else.
Exactly.
And that kind of thing. But
But even a family of one at our shop will leave with a basket full of groceries.
sure. And how long would that last? Do we think about a week and a half to 2 weeks, maybe?
Well, they certainly have to supplement that
Yeah.
with other things, but considering that it's supposed to be a supplement to your pantry,
Right.
it probably lasts more like 20 days, even though they're eligible to come every 30. I would say that for most families, it lasts maybe 20.
What's the biggest need you have food-wise? Is it like baby items, or is it canned food? Is it macaroni and cheese, which I know is a popular thing?
The things that we need food wise that are hardest for us to keep on the shelf right now is cereal, peanut butter, and mac and cheese.
That's why I hear that a lot. I guess
Yes.
mac and cheese is a good high-carb kind of thing for people who need food like that.
I think it's that, but it's also fairly easy for a young child to make for themselves, which a lot of them might be home for periods of time by themselves.
Right.
So they do that. As far as non-food needs, our toiletry type things, always in need of diapers and wipes, and then shampoo and deodorant and toothpaste are the things that go the fastest. Outside of that, laundry detergent and dish detergent.
So it's more than just food. It's
Absolutely.
all the other necessities you need.
Yes.
Do you ever have periods of time where you just kind of wonder if anybody's going to come to the rescue because the shelves are kind of bare and whatnot?
I have absolutely done that.
Yeah.
And certainly at the beginning of the pandemic, I thought, Lord, how are we going to keep open our doors? But we are an extremely blessed ministry. And I think as long as we are faithful to what we've been given, responsible with it, we'll continue to get provided, even though we might not see it and you're thinking, oh no, it's like it always shows up at the right time.
Right. I told the story to Jennifer Woods at Harvest House when I was doing student council back at BHS. We did a food drive, and I had a young lady whose name now is Jennifer Sando, Jennifer Barnes at that time, who ramrodded the whole thing. And we come in with 4 flatbeds full of food, and I walked in and said, hey, we got some food for you. And the 2 ladies working Harvest House started tearing up. I go, well, what did I say? She said, let me show you something. You go in there in the back of their pantry, there's 1 bag left. And they were all, it gets you. It really does. And so I'm sure there have been times that promises, even though we're connected to a good-sized church with a fairly prosperous community that goes to it, there are times in which those shelves could get mighty lean.
We were afraid of that, and I have a similar incident when we first were told that we had to shut down self-select. And we started seeing the problems with the supply chain. And I had been in our walk-in freezer, and I kept seeing the shelves get empty. And I stepped outside of it and said, God, how in the world are we going to have food on the shelves for people who do need to come? And I'm telling you, the next day before 3 p.m., a truck pulled in and had been at the right place at the right time. City Market was having to donate a truckload of protein, some bacon and some sausage. And we were able to put food on our shelves when we thought we're going to be out probably by the end of the week. And a truck shows up giving us that. Where somebody pulled in the parking lot with 300 dozen eggs, which are sometimes very hard to keep at a pantry. So I believe that if we are faithful and responsible with what we're given, we'll continue to have it provided.
Yes, I believe that as well. And I tell you what, well, say this right now before it slips my mind. If you ever get in that situation again, you let Taylor and I know, and we'll throw it up on the screen and we'll let people know.
Sounds great.
You know, we do that for Harvest House. We surely will be glad to do it for y'all. We do it for Next Step.
Yes.
ASD. I mean, this is kind of the whole point of the show. They can hear me rant about Biden some other time. But anyway, if really honest, you have my number, you have this whole process,
Okay.
you just let us know.
We'll do that. But let me tell you this too, that we are, you mentioned Harvest House and some of the others. I think one of the glory of this area, Johnson County as a whole, is that there are about 25. Some of them might only be open one day a week, but there are now about 25 pantries in Johnson County. And so if needed, that person could travel to us today. The Harvest House is just a block and a half down the street. They could go to them that day or the next week. Bottom line, you could plan it to where you're getting some additional food assistance every week of the month. And so I think that helps those who truly are in need or having to decide, do I pay for medicine or do I buy food?
Right.
That type of thing. So it's not just Promises who needs that assistance to help us put food on the shelves, but when we all work together, I think that allows them to be able to get what they need.
Well, I mentioned before the show about a show we did in September, that Giving Day, what it was,
Yes.
was a Thursday, and it had 7 of the nonprofits in there, and they all know each other, and it was
Yes.
they all root for each other. They don't see $1 going to this group as $1 I didn't get, that kind
Right.
of thing. They all were pulling for each other. They were all familiar with each other's programs. They were friends
Yes.
and colleagues, and I'm blessed to be in a community that has that kind of structure. You know, not every community has this kind of support system in the private sector, shall we say? You know, and I was just really touched by how genuinely happy they were if somebody got a decent sized donation for their, because they all do good work.
Right.
And they all kind of coordinate together, and they all kind of complement each other in a sense, because you don't really find any competition between them at all. And I'm just like, wow, that's a great
because
thing.
of our proximity. Jennifer Woods and I speak pretty frequently,
Yeah.
and we are always making that statement, especially in front of our volunteer groups and stuff. We are not competitors. We've each been given a ministry and have something that we need to offer to the community. So I'm happy for her. Matter of fact, on that, one of the things that's working right now, and right now they're targeting Johnson County, is looking for, there's a organization called Charity Network Management, and they're looking to do a software program that would allow us to kind of share information so that we would know if Brad Allard were to come to me to ask for assistance, I could see, has he been to Harvest House? Has he been to
Right,
these
right.
others? So that we can share, because I might not offer the assistance that he needs, but Harvest House may. And so a way that we can coordinate together quickly so that we can assist people coming for assistance beyond just food. So I think that would be a really great thing. There's some software out there now that does some of that sharing, but not in a way that we are wanting to move. So
Plus, you have to respect the privacy.
yes,
You know,
yes,
that's a big thing.
yes,
Here's a kind of an odd question. You know, Promises is connected to a church, a faith-based organization. It's a faith-based operation. Do you find some people sometimes reluctant to come to y'all because they feel like they're going to get hammered with the New Testament if they come in? I mean, how do you approach the witness aspect of it
right.
in a comfortable way that people won't feel reluctant to come?
Well, we are careful not to do that around the food. When we get into more of somebody's seeking financial assistance, we're delving a little bit more deeper with them, and they might hear that. And I'm not saying that we don't mention the Bible. Matter of fact, we offer you a Bible. If you want a Bible, you can have a Bible free. But I don't find that they're hesitant to come to Promises.
Okay, good.
I would find, and they would tell you, they're a little hesitant to visit our church because of the stigma of thinking it's higher class. And many of these folks, we try to remind them God's love doesn't depend on the depth of your wallet. He loves the poor just as much as he loves the rich. So I don't see a lot of them are reluctant to come to Promises, but if we invited them to come to the church, they would quickly tell you, oh, no, I don't have clothes nice enough.
Right.
Or whatever. So we definitely see that.
Well, I just was hoping, because you want to show God's love. You
Yes.
want to witness Christ's mercy. But you don't want to have this reputation, shall we say, that if I go there, I'm going to have to listen to a 30-minute sermon, or be told how I need to straighten up and fly right, and all this other business. You just want to go in and get your stuff.
We don't browbeat with that.
Yeah, right.
But now, if you're telling us something's going on and I don't know how I'm going to get through it, you're probably going to hear the person shopping with you say, well, the way I do that is I have a relationship with the Lord. So it's not that we never say that, but it's not ever in a browbeat or you've got to listen to this in order to shop at our store. We don't do
good.
that.
I mean, and that's the way Christ would have it.
Yes.
But as far as prayer, and I'm sure you'll offer that if they ask for it. It's kind of like what Megan and Summer do over at Next Step. They are a faith-based organization, but they let the person initiate that opportunity. And if they basically say, I'm not really here for that, they'll say, okay, we'll still pray for you, but you know, you're still welcome here 100%. And that's kind of how I get the impression y'all do, Harvest House does, is that they're not really there to try to straighten you out, but they're there to provide your current need at that time. And that's a real blessing.
Yes.
Also, I know you don't deal with this as directly, but we do have the counseling service.
Yes.
And do you have sometimes some of your people want to take advantage of that?
We do have people who want to take advantage of that in relation to what we had just talked about, being faith-based.
Right.
Our counseling center is the same way. It is a faith-based, but you, the patient, would need to bring that up for it to be brought into the situation. So they're not browbeat there. But we have a wonderful counseling center. We're right now at it's 15, I believe. I think they were trying to add another. It might be 16, but I think right now it's still 15 licensed professional counselors that range anywhere from somebody just graduating with their degree to doctor.
Right.
So there's a wide range of that. It is monitored by Dr. Scott Floyd, and so even if they're just graduating and don't have all of the hours, they're being monitored by a doctor. And it is a fee-based counseling, but it is greatly reduced. There are some where we offer scholarships because we know of a need they have and not the ability to pay. Or sometimes, even though our regular rate would be about half what you would pay in the real world, so to speak, sometimes we will even lower that for them.
Right. I used counseling service, about a decade ago, 9 years ago. Things were pretty tough. And it was showing up at the house. And so I needed to go to counseling. And, and there were a graduated system of payments, and I had the ability to pay, and I did. And I insisted because I didn't want to be on the dole when I knew that other people didn't have the circumstances I did to allow them to do it. And the counseling was not like, okay, let's open up your Bibles kind of stuff. It was like, any spiritual related conversation I had initiated. And, and you know where you are. You see the scripture on the wall, right?
Exactly.
You know you're in a Christian-based operation, but the counseling was the kind of stuff you would get in any other format.
Yes.
But you had the comfort knowing that anytime you wanted to dive into the spiritual aspect or make biblical references, you were in friendly territory.
Yes.
And so I highly recommend the counseling for anybody that needs it, because our generation, counseling was seen as an admission of weakness or failure. And that has to change.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people that need it and suffering from it, but they're too stubborn to ask for it.
Yes.
Same thing with the food. You mentioned about our generation. We're roughly the same age. And, that was just seen as, well, you must not be doing something right if you're in this situation. And that's just not the case. I mean, COVID and unemployment and, supply chain issues and whatnot, that, the economy, inflation, there's a lot of things you can't help.
Exactly. Yeah. We have a lot of people who come who are hardworking people. They just are working jobs that do not give them enough money to make all ends meet when you have rent that's tripled. We have people who have come in and told us their rent was going up $200 because they're having to renew, and supply and demand, they can offer that. So
I have a question from Sherry Scott, whom we mentioned before with the blessing boxes. She does something very similar to you do. It's maybe a bit more informal, if you will, but they have blessing boxes One's at the library, one's at the Renfro One Stop, one's at Centennial Park, another one's at a church in Joshua, one's at Alsbury. She'll tell me, I'm sure, on the screen. It's a church on Alsbury. She asked if you could send a list of that 25. Is there a list that you could send her? If you send it to me, I can get it to her.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Just to text it to me or whatever, and I can forward it to her in message, because we communicate that way. But she's, example of what a lot of people have in this community is just people, just self-starters doing this. I mentioned before I was on the committee that started it, but I really don't know what the specific situation was that caused us to start thinking we needed to do this. I think part of it was Harvest House was overwhelmed, even back then. And I think a lot of people don't understand, Harvest House does great work, but they're just one group, and we needed, they thought we needed more help. Now you say you have 25.
Right.
That's very interesting to know. What concerns me, though, is this rising tide, it seems like, in our little community.
Yes.
Homeless, people needing this kind of assistance, financial and otherwise. We don't think of ourselves as some urban wasteland or some poor community. We think of ourselves as a growing, prosperous community, yet we have people that are falling through the cracks.
Yes.
And I'm concerned about that.
We are too, because we know there's a need there. And of course, they ask us all the time. They call and want us to find them a place to be, and it's just not there. They would have to go into Fort Worth or some other location, and some of them are a bit afraid to do that. So it is a great need, and I think it's something that if the city or county does not address soon, it will become a greater issue.
Well, I plan to talk to the mayor about that. Victoria Johnson will be on a week after that, I believe a week from Tuesday, and I'm going to ask her that too, because I know this is something close to her concerns. We've talked about this several times. So I don't know what the city's going to do yet. I don't think they know yet, because this is really kind of a new thing for them, because they've never really been in a situation where we've had a community this size and as we grow in every way, that's part of the population grows as well.
Absolutely. And
that's a new thing for us. How do y'all finance yourselves? I know you'll take donations, but there's how do you? Is it a budget item in the First Baptist Church, or is it mostly private donations?
Well, it is a budget item, so to say, at First Burleson. At First Burleson, you're able to make donations that are designated to go to Promises.
Right.
And our church is extremely generous and is the biggest contributor to Promises. And we take in, the bulk of the money that we have in our budget is through that fund. So it doesn't, if you do just a regular tithe or donation to First Burleson, it doesn't go to Promises unless the budget that is designated to Promises gets used up, and then it would. But
right.
So the church fully supports it, 100% behind it. But we exist off of the donations of people who have designated money to go to Promises. We have organizations that are very generous to us each year. Will make donations to us. Individuals. Some of them that no longer go to First Burleson, but knew of it when they were at First Burleson, who'll send them. And then we do get, like you said, some from the neighborhood. There was a gentleman that used to come about once every other month and bring a truckload of groceries to us just because he thought we did great work and he wanted to contribute to that. He passed away this past March, but his wife said, I don't have the physical ability to do the shopping and bring it to you. But she comes and makes a generous donation about every 6 weeks because she knows her husband would like that. So she continues that. And we have some people that are that way. They've been a part of it or known about it, and they continue to contribute.
Well, I know as a member at the First Baptist Burleson has a website, and it has a give link, and you can drop down the box, and it's general fund. There's this, that, and the other, and on that list is Promises.
Promises, yes.
And so even if you're not a member, and if
absolutely
you could use that process to donate. But also, you take donations of food. People drop by to say, "Here, I was at Sam's and I bought an extra case of soup or whatever."
Yes,
that kind of happens. But do you have like big time contributors?
We have Walmart here on Wilshire that we pick up from them on Mondays and Fridays, and they do generous donations to us. They also donate through Tarrant Area Food Bank, so we could get it from us picking up that food, and we do that kind of to lighten the load for Tarrant Area Food Bank.
Right.
But they also contribute through Tarrant Area Food Bank, which we get donations from on Mondays and Wednesdays of each week. They will bring us, we're talking usually 3 to 5 pallets of food each time they come. We can purchase from Tarrant Area Food Bank. It is extremely inexpensive if you can find the item.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes it's hard, and they have been on the news here in the last couple of months because they've had empty shelves. The supply chain. We went in October. I was in Waco at Baylor University for the Baylor.
Oh, yes. That's my school.
Yes.
I'm a graduate.
I saw that on the back of your phone. I knew you were going to say that. But they have a poverty and hunger coalition or committee that meets once a year. And people from all over, like we had the CEO of Hormel Food and stuff like that. And they are predicting that this shortage is going to last through mid next year. And so we are getting donations, but we don't get all that we used to get simply because the stores are struggling to get them. Some of them during the pandemic, this company like Aldi changed their ordering for their store, where it's more they send out to the store what they want them to have, whereas they don't let each one place their order. Well, they used to let us piggyback off of them, and we would pay them we're going to buy all of this from you, and they would order it, and they're not allowed to do that anymore.
Oh, no.
And then, like I said, some of the stores just struggle to get enough to fill their shelves, which is their priority and should be. But bottom line, we will take it anyway. If you want to pull in the parking lot and donate it, if you want to drop it off at the church, we'll pick it up over there. If you want to go online and give that way, we will take any way that you want to send it. If you just want to send a check to the church and tell them it's for promises, you can do that as well.
Do you get any government assistance?
We have been the recipient of a grant this year from them, but that's the first that it's directly coming from the government. It went through Johnson County Commissioners,
right?
The Commissioner Court. We were asked to come and speak before them about a grant request we had, which, as you know, we increased added another building. We doubled our space at Promises. And all we've ever had is a van to transport food, and we go pick up when we buy from Tarrant Area Food Bank. And as you know, even this last summer where it was 110 degrees, a van is not a good way to transport food that needs to be kept at a certain temperature. So we had been praying for a box refrigerated truck, and we submitted a grant and was given that grant in the process right now of securing that van or the box truck. And then display units so that we can display refrigerated and frozen items. We had one of each of those, but we need another of each of those. So yes, we've gotten, that's federal government. You have to go through the federal government process to get it.
Oh, that's not easy either.
I'm here to tell you it is a headache. But once you can get all of the I's dotted and the T's crossed, they were quick to send us the money, and we'll give them the proof showing that we spent the money on what we said we would spend it. And so
did they have
we've been blessed with that.
Any strings attached? Because I know that when we started this back in '97, that was a conversation we had with the committee. How much do we want to rely on the government? And me and a couple others said, look, sooner or later, particularly, they may ask us to like throttle back on the witness or whatever else, and we don't want that to happen. Is it nothing like that's happening though, right?
No, the only thing that is required of us through anything that we get, whether it be through the food bank that's supported by USDA or in the federal government, is that no one is denied food for race, religion.
Of course.
Yes.
Well, as a Christian organization, that'd be terrible.
And exactly.
To use that kind of criteria.
It would be. So we don't do that, but we do get inspected each year to make sure, and they will listen to our intake volunteers who would be talking to that person coming in and telling them we can get them food. But now if I'm going to, they say, can I have help with my electric bill? We can delve a little bit deeper with that. We are certainly not shy with letting them know we are faith-based, but we don't browbeat anybody.
Right.
But the only time that we would be dinged, so to speak, is if we denied somebody food.
Well, I can't see that happening in any case.
Never.
That would certainly spoil the witness, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
And that's primary, actually. I mean, we think about the food, and yes, it is, but also their condition of their soul is important.
Yes.
But it's hard to focus on that when you're hungry.
I guarantee you it is.
It's like, you're not worried so much about the afterlife when you're worried about today.
Yes.
And I'm glad we have an organization in this town that does that focuses on the bodily needs. Because,
sometimes we talked about our homeless population that's growing. We actually purchase through our budget like Hot Pockets, because we've had homeless people who they have gotten to us so hungry they can't focus on shopping for some food until we feed them. And so we keep things that we could heat up and put a little bit of warmth in their belly because it's been so long since they've been able to eat.
Good heavens. And this is in our town, right?
Yes, absolutely.
See, we don't think of that. Well, God bless you for what you do. We're about close on time here, and I always let the guests have the last word. So you could tell us anything you want us to know. And like I said earlier, you run across this situation again, or if you have a specific need, like we need baby formula, or we need, canned soup, or whatever it is, you just let us know, and Taylor will have it flopped up on the screen there.
Okay.
Because he's really good about that stuff. And we'll have it, I think we need to keep it,
Yes.
keep the focus on our community that, hey, we need to take care of these people. So tell us everything you want us to know in the last 2 to 3 minutes.
I absolutely agree. We need to keep that focus on the community. And first, Brad, I would tell you thank you so much for letting me come. I love to talk about promises.
Oh, sure.
I feel that I have one of the most blessed jobs in the world because I get a front row seat to a lot of things that are happening in communities that a lot of people don't even know about. So thank you for letting me come. The last thing that I would just want to say is if you are out and about and want to pick up an extra box, it doesn't have to be a whole case or anything.
Yeah.
Pick up a extra box or two of cereal or some box of mac and cheese or peanut butter. Those are things that they are staples on our shelves. And when we run low on it, people go, is this all you've got? So we would love for you to drop those by at 140 Northwest Renfro here in Burleson, or in Burleson. I'm in Crowley right now. But we would love to do that because we promise you it is going to get in the hands of people in the community that need it.
Well, and I would also add that if you're at Sam's and you just pick up an extra 2 or 3 boxes, some people think if they're not pulling up in a big truck, then they're not going to make a difference. Well, that's not the case. Small donations add up to big donations.
That's what I'm telling you.
So you're right. If you come in, I buy extra 2 or 3 boxes of Cheerios, and here's another couple of containers of jars of peanut butter. Hey, they'll be taken quickly. And
to that point, at First Burleson, we have what we call the Blue Bag Ministry.
Oh yeah, we've done that.
Which is where you can pick up a blue bag on Sunday, and it's going to have a list in it of things that we could use right now. You can take it home, shop, and bring it back. You're not buying tons of stuff. You're just buying a few items and bringing the blue bag back, and we get quite a bit of our donations that way.
Well, I know a couple of ladies in our Sunday school class who will come up there and say, "You will be taking this blue bag, sir." And
we encourage those folks. So I know a couple of men that they don't shake your hand, and on Sunday morning they hand you a blue bag. So,
yeah, I know. That's nice.
Yes, and it's a way that you can be involved in serving your community without a lot of effort.
Yeah, and I like that because, sometimes these problems seem so overwhelming to say, well, what can I do about it?
Yes.
I give $100, whatever. Is that going to be a thing? I always just say, look back at the miracles, the feeding of the multitudes, the widow's mites. Those
Yes.
things add up.
Absolutely.
And so don't be thinking that if I'm not, driving up with a big old semi or dropping 10 grand on them, then I'm not really making much difference. You're making a ton of difference. And
Yes.
you're making a ton of difference for yourself.
Yes.
Not just as some person that may have a meal that day, but makes you feel like you're doing what God will have you do.
Yes.
So I'm talking to my vast listening audience now. Remember all these communities we have, or these people in our community rather, and remember all the organizations, not just Promises, but we have all of them that need help.
Yes.
And particularly this time of year. I appreciate you coming. I really, I'm pleased to be part of an organization that does this for the community. Makes me feel good.
Yes. Yes,
And-
it does.
And I appreciate the hard work y'all put in.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be doing this again very soon.
Sounds good, Brad. Thank you.
All right, Taylor, I'll see you Monday. Monday I'll have Jennifer Woods. I bet you'll have a very similar story.
Bet you will.
And then the mayor, and we'll grill him. What are you doing about this, mayor? All right, we'll see you.
All right.